When we read the account of creation in Genesis, we learn that
the Bible is dumb and absolutely full of complete and utter nonsense, and thus believing it to be a literal book of facts is only something that an absolute idiot would do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of absolute idiots about who read it and think, yeah, talking snakes, magic fruit, man and women getting along with each other, that all sounds reasonable. This must be a big book of facts, and I'm going to base my life on the things that it says. And then act all surprised when other people don't want to do what I tell them based on the absolute bullshit I believe. Must be because of Satan or something.
it was Adam's sin that brought death into the world.
And who exactly was in charge of the world when Adam did the sin? Was it Adam? I don't think so. He was a gibbering moron with the cognitive capacity of a child. Was it Eve? Probably not. I bet she was too busy cleaning up after that idiot man-child to do any other shit. Was it the snake? No, God told him to go and trick Eve into eating the fruit in the first place, and that's a very important job. God only knows who was the one responsible for the everything at the time. I guess sin was nobody's fault. I mean, even an all-powerful being that was literally everywhere all the time with the power to do absolutely anything they want, and who had a very specific set of ideas as to how they wanted the world to work, couldn't have done a damn thing. Right, God?
If we take the Bible as written,
why would you do that? I mean, how would you do it, really? You know, the Bible that you know as it is written is a translation, right? Lost in Translation isn't just a Bill Murray vehicle, it's a real thing that happens when you change the language of almost anything into another. Even the best attempts at capturing the meaning of a text will necessarily change it, due not only to words and phrases changing between languages, but also massive cultural differences, where a character walking into a house with their shoes on is a really weird detail to mention in one place and is potentially a massive taboo in another. It is impossible to change the language and cultural context of a work without losing a ton of the meaning. So to take a translated text literally is foolhardy at best. And that's not to mention that even the original biblical texts were almost certainly bullshit.
It is very obvious that death, bloodshed, disease, suffering
is caused by humans. Just their very existence. It had nothing to do with Adam's sin. It's just humans existing. Everything is worse. Good job, God. Yet another one of your silly little projects gone awry. This is just like the time you decided to play meteorite tennis against the dinosaurs. They didn't stand a chance.
Animals eating each other, thorns.
Fucking thorns? Oh, come on, man, seriously. Listen to yourself. You think that thorns on a plant literally exists because of some Bible bullshit? Dude, that is possibly one of the most childish things I've ever heard. Like, that's the kind of shit that an infant would come up with to explain such a thing. We know exactly why thorns exist, and it's not because God was sad about sin. Not to mention the fact that God's inability to do anything about sin is just a blatant plot hole in the Bible. Either he can do something about it or he can't. You don't get to have him not like it and be unable to deal with it and be all powerful. That's fucking stupid. Oh, and animals obviously have been eating each other since literally fucking forever. And anyone who thinks that that's not the case knows less than nothing about biology. I mean, the existence of obligate carnivores alone. They literally have to eat other animals to stay alive, dumbass.
Came into the world as a result of sin.
The world is full of cum because of sin. Right. I mean, that makes a kind of sense, I guess. After all, it is a sin to fuck a planet, but it just feels so good. If it's wrong, I don't want to be right, baby. And yes, before you ask, that is where earthquakes come from.
However, if one believes in millions of years, as the secularists tell us...
The secularists. That's a heck of a band name, I'm not gonna lie. But you know that being secular and accurately understanding things about science aren't actually the same thing? In fact, being religious and having a proper understanding of scientific matters is also absolutely fine. It's just Numbnuts McGee over here wants you to think that if you are a fan of Le Bible and the Jesus Club, that you cannot do a big science all over yourself, but that's simply not true. And if you are such a person, just know Ken hates you like a bunch. But we over this way, we think you're pretty cool, and you can totally hang out in our clubhouse. The unsciencing seculars can f*** off though. Nobody, not even Ken, wants to be friends with those assholes.
Concerning the fossil record,
it's not about believing in millions of years when it comes to the fossil record. It's that the fossil record, among many other pieces of evidence that we have, points to millions/billions of years when it comes to the existence of animals or the planet or even the universe. It's not really a belief to understand and accept the science. I don't need to believe it. I just have to actually learn things. It is you who believes, and there is no understanding to be gained from simply looking at a book that makes a claim with nothing backing it up. Nothing that is repeatable or testable, but instead says, believe me or suffer my wrath. But frankly, threats do not constitute facts.
then we have a fossil record laid down over millions of years before man that has evidence of animals eating each other, bones in their stomachs, bite marks on their bones.
Yeah, we do. I wonder why that is. Perhaps it's because that's what f***ing happened. That in fact the world is really goddamn old and we have a ton of proof for that conclusion. No, that can't be it. It must actually be because the people who study that shit, their entire lives are lying about it and want you to not believe in God that is definitely a real guy and not a big pile of fake ass bullshit.
Evidence of diseases in the fossil record. We see animal bones with evidence of cancer, brain tumors, arthritis, abscesses, and so on.
You know, it feels like he's basically constantly dunking on himself. I know all it's going to end up being, but actually it doesn't show what it shows because old books say no. Also, his presentation in this, I mean, the script itself sounds like a 5-year-old wrote it, but he's even doing it like it's a class presentation. I could have sworn this man had some of what the kids call riz, but frankly, it looks more like he's explaining how to make a fucking flat pack cupboard.
And there are thorns in the fossil record said to be, hundreds of millions of years old.
Legit obsessed with the whole thorns thing, isn't he? Maybe it's because he's so thorny. Thing is, the reason that thorns would have been specifically brought up as, that's because sin, is probably because the authors of the Bible just couldn't figure out why some plants have mean old spikes all over them, especially when they're just so pretty. Of course, it's obvious to us now, it's to stop animals from eating them/destroying them, but way back then, they didn't have them the smarts to suss that all out, especially as animals wouldn't even be trying to do stuff to them because they knew better. They've got fucking thorns on them.
Now, the Bible makes it very, very clear that thorns came into the world after the curse.
The Bible lies very, very, very hard. That it thinks it knows where thorns come from and why they exist. And it must be because of something God do. Something that God let someone else do. But it's not. It doesn't know. It's wrong. And just because you really like the Bible and want God to do the real, claiming that reality is incorrect because it proves your book to be full of shit is not the move, my dude.
We're also told that originally, before sin, Adam and Eve and the animals were all vegetarian.
Which is, of course, obvious fucking nonsense. It's the kind of thing that someone who doesn't know anything about the animal kingdom would think sounds good in their little fairy tale creation myth, but cannot hold up to any scrutiny whatsoever, because again, obligate carnivores are a thing. And unless the Garden of Eden was full of fucking meat plants, then it's wrong about the idea that every animal was vegetarian. Although, not gonna lie, if we ever do get to the point with technology where I can grow a southern fried chicken plant in my living room, I will stop eating most meats. I mean, I'm an atheist, I still need to eat 17 babies a day, or I might start believing in God again, so yeah.
And we're told that God declared that the creation at the end of the 6th day was all very good.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? The narcissistic f***er. And who can blame him? I mean, everybody loves things they make. I made my kids with a small amount of help from Mrs. Sick, and I think they are fucking awesome. Best kids ever, 10 out of 10, no notes. You know, unless I want them to tidy their bedroom. And then suddenly, I just can't understand where I went wrong. I mean, they won't even use flamethrowers to do it or anything. Who are you people?
Very good can only be defined in terms of how God sees good.
Ah, of course, you know what's happening in God's brain. That is nice to know and wildly impressive. I mean, seriously, do you understand what all-powerful means? Yeah, incomprehensible. So the idea that you can understand what something like that would want is just laughable. And the funniest thing is, I hear that thrown around a lot from Bible literal boys. You think God's actions in the Bible are bad? Well, how could you possibly understand them? You're not God. Completely missing the fact that neither are fucking you, mate. If I don't understand his actions, you can't either. What makes you think he's not trying to look like an evil piece of shit, Because seriously, if I wanted to look completely psychotic, I would definitely kill basically everyone on the planet because I was a little bit mad.
And the Bible tells us that God is good and that God is perfect.
Okay, so you know that the Bible, right, isn't true? It could and does say literally anything it wants to. That doesn't make those things facts. Also, even if a creature was perfect, that wouldn't mean that its rating system for things functions in any specific way. God might rate things based on the number of atoms in it, or how it smells, or its potential for being distilled into whiskey. Of course, that would make everything fucking awesome if that was the case.
And so a fossil record with diseases like brain tumours being described as very good certainly would not fit.
How do you know? What if God is really just into that? Or that good and absolutely fucking perfect aren't the same thing? Or that, the people writing the Bible themselves had any fucking idea what the guy thought? You don't, but that is mostly because he doesn't fucking exist.
In other words, it's the Bible's account of sin changing the whole world, changing the universe, that helps us understand why there's death in the world.
So the Bible is proof positive that God is not all-powerful. Look, if you think that it is in fact, factual, and that it is all you need in order to demonstrate Mr. Yahweh's actual existence, then you have to accept that it's proof that he's a dumbass and bad at godding. That if he can't even deal with a little bit of sin, how the fuck do you think he's going to deal with shit that actually matters? How is he supposed to be able to balance the universe and make stars work and solar systems not fall into disarray if the one thing that he really hates is just allowed to run roughshod over his great creation? It's like some super precious car owner just allowing you to walk up to his prize vehicle every single day and cover it in paint. And he let you in the garage to do it. And then he just complains about how this thing he could have stopped by just not opening the door to it, and to boot, blaming his kids for it, even though they were in the other room and had no idea what was even happening. What a tool.
Why now animals eat other animals? Why people even eat animals?
No, I think you'll find competition and natural selection where eating an animal that's done all the grass eating already for you is a really convenient way to obtain a shitload of energy and other nutrient matter, so long as you have already adapted to do so. And it's the existence of those adaptations in animals that apparently aren't using them for no fucking reason when in the Garden of Eden. That demonstrates just how little thought was put into the story of Genesis. Proof positive that they were too stupid to even figure out why an animal might have big sharp teeth over not doing that.
Originally, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29 and 30, Adam and Eve and the animals were all vegetarian, but that is not so today.
So either all animals were vegetarian and something completely unprovable, untestable and unbelievable happened that changed the very foundation of how basically all animals worked, or the Bible is a book written by people who knew nothing about why animals do things and thought it sounded nice if they'd all be Care Bear Huggy Bunch friends. Remember what I said about written by fucking children?
The whole world has changed because of sin. In fact, Romans 8 tells us that the whole of creation groans in pain because of sin.
Well then, make yourself a sin detector and use it to find the sin, and then deal with the sin. What's that? You can't do that? Sin is something that you feel is there, and can only be detected by someone who believes in it. Well, we have a word for things that can only be found by the people who already think that it's there. Made up. If we started the world fresh and no one had heard of the Bible, not a single person would think sin was real. They wouldn't feel it or see it or smell it or whatever, because it is bullshit.
As a Christian, one cannot consistently
Tell the truth? Ah, that's not fair. It's a creationist. That's the one that makes you consistently tell lies about things that you don't like, because they make your book sound really dumb if you think it's literally true. And they aren't even consistent with their science denial, because if it doesn't contradict them, well, it's fine. And that gets to be the real science. That's why you get creationist scientists with real degrees, people who are actually pretty smart and capable of understanding very complicated subjects. But as soon as something contradicts the Bible, off goes the brain, out spurts the bullshit. It's extremely frustrating. All science is real science if done to the scientific method, even if you don't like the answers it comes out with, even if it contradicts your deeply held beliefs. Science should never be based on what you believe. It should only be based on what you can prove.
take millions of years and add that to the Bible. To do so, one would have to reinterpret the Bible's clear account in Genesis.
Yeah, do that one, because if you take it at face value, it's so obviously wrong. So if you must believe in the Bible, for fuck's sake, don't think of it as even remotely literal, otherwise you have to deny reality as it sits there smacking its ass in front of you. And then you'll be really confused as to where your massive hard-on came from. Or wide-on for the ladies.
Which results in undermining the authority of Scripture.
And it's already far too busy doing all of that by itself. Doesn't need your help, buddy. Get out of here.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel, Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the